not. Only 6. You'll be the 7th, my dear.
I was over the moon. A big and close-knit family. It was what I always dreamed of. My new home was big and beautiful. What surprised me was how quiet it was there. Where is everyone? I want to meet my sisters. It turned out that everyone in the house lived according to strict rules and a schedule. I want all my daughters to make it big in the future, so they study even when it's holidays. Most of the time, they sit in their rooms and play music or paint. I know these are strange rules, but you'll get used to it, sweetie. Yeah, it was pretty weird. Still, it was worlds better than living in the orphanage, so I didn't ask too many questions. That evening, I wandered around the house and looked at the beautiful paintings in the corridors. I could hear the piano and my sister's voices coming from the rooms, but none of them came out to see me. I came up to one of the doors and listened to what was going on inside.
I want to go to Spain.
I liked that country's culture too. Just as I was about to knock on the door and walk in, my adoptive mom came out of the room. Sherry, were you about to bother Amanda? Amanda? Yes, this is her room. I adopted her shortly before you. I tried to get a glimpse of Amanda, but Mom quickly shut the door. She's drawing, sweetie. Please don't break the rules of this house. Just find a hobby and stay in your room. All right. Later, when I was having dinner in an empty dining room, I couldn't shake off the feeling of loneliness. Even though the house was packed with people, I was still alone. I'm sure that as soon as the holidays are over, I'll meet my sisters at school. Before going to bed, Mom stopped by my room and gave me a cool smartwatch. Thanks, but what's the occasion? I just want to show you that you are important to me. Welcome to the family, dear. The next morning, I got a call from the child services. Charles asked me how I was doing. I felt great after what Mom had said to me the night before, so I told him I felt welcome. My sisters study a lot and we haven't met yet, but my mom is amazing. She even gave me an expensive present yesterday.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, I'll check up on you later.
After our talk, I went for a walk. I was about to cross the street when Nate's car stopped next to me. The last thing I wanted to do was deal with that show-off again. Sherry, I'm glad to see you. Can we talk about what happened? We have nothing to talk about. I want to forget you and your greedy father like a bad dream. Having said that, I proudly walked past his car. Things were finally looking up, and I didn't want Nate to remind me of my terrible past. I was sitting in the park, basking in the sun and eating ice cream when a red kitten suddenly jumped into my lap. Hello, Fluffball. Do you want some ice cream? He was so cute, I decided to take him home. Of course, I had to ask my mom if I could keep the stray first. Don't worry, Peaches. She's kind. I'm sure she'll let you stay. I went to my mom's room, but she wasn't there. I saw a calendar. Mom had circled the 26th of the next month with a red marker. I wonder why that day's important. Could it be the birthday of one of my sisters? At that moment, Mom walked into the room. For some reason, she was furious when she saw me. Sherry, never come in here without permission. With those words, she nervously hid a note in the drawer. I apologized and showed her Peaches. She instantly softened and smiled at me. Of course you can keep it, sweetheart. I'm sorry, I yelled. Sit down, let's talk. I plopped down on the chair opposite her, and Mom asked me about my dreams and plans. More than anything, I've always wanted to have a loving family. That is so sweet. Go on. We kept chatting and I noticed she was recording our conversation. That was kind of weird. I frowned, but Mom only laughed. Don't worry, I'm just very sentimental and like to go back and re-listen to such talks. She seemed sweet, perhaps too sweet, and yet something about her made me wary. That evening, I was wandering around the house and listening to the sounds coming from my sister's rooms. Some of them were chatting about their favorite TV shows, and some were playing the piano, and some were laughing. The house was filled with life, and I didn't feel as lonely anymore. I wanted to talk to my sisters, so I started knocking on their doors, but none of them opened. I heard someone's voice in the living room. From the snatches of the conversation I overheard, I realized it was Amanda talking on the phone with child services. She was telling them about her life with her new family. I like it here. Mom takes good care of me and my sisters. Tomorrow? Oh, okay. I skipped into the living room to talk to Amanda. However, as soon as she heard my footsteps, she ran into her room and slammed the door shut. Amanda, wait! I just wanted to talk.
Go away!
What was wrong with her? It seemed terribly weird to me. I didn't bother my sister anymore and went to my room. The next morning, Mom came up to me looking harried. Sherry, this is a disaster! The child services are about to arrive to check up on Amanda again for some reason, but she's a bit sick and can't see them. I don't want anyone to think I don't take good care of my girls because of this. She handed me a wig and asked me to pretend to be Amanda. You two are the same age and look similar, so no one will notice anything. Come on, Sherry, help Mommy out. I was a bit confused by such a request, but agreed. So I put on the wig and told the child services representative I didn't lack for anything and was happy with my new family. Well, I'm glad glad to hear that. It's just that your voice sounded strange on the phone yesterday, so I decided to come and see how you're doing. But now the probationary period is over, and we will not interfere with your life anymore. Good luck. After they left, Mom pulled me into a hug. Good girl, Sherry. Great job. A bit later, Charles called me and asked how I was doing. On one hand, I wanted to tell him there was something fishy going on. On the other hand, my life was still better there than it had been in the orphanage. That's why I told him everything was perfect.
Wonderful.
In a month, on the 26th, the probationary period will end, so I'll stop calling you. The day flew by. Before going to bed, I tried to find Peaches because I wanted to fall asleep with him in my arms, but the kitten was nowhere to be seen. That fluff ball must have climbed into the attic again. I lay down and was out like a light. The house was plunged into silence. I was sound asleep when the sound of a piano woke me up. Who the heck plays piano in the middle of the night? I ran out into the corridor and angrily knocked on my sister's door. It stayed closed, but I walked in anyway. Screw the rules. There was no one inside. Can you imagine? The sounds of the piano were coming from a speaker lying on the floor. Peaches was sitting next to it. He must have knocked it down and turned it on. What's going on? Doesn't anyone live here? I examined the other rooms and realized they were all empty, but there were voice recorders in all of them. I turned them on and heard the voices that came from those rooms. Imagine my horror when I remembered my mom had recorded our talk too. What the heck? This is so creepy. I decided to confront my mom, but she wasn't in her bedroom. My eyes fell on her calendar again, the 26th. That was the last day Charles would call me to ask if I was okay. I had to face the horrifying truth. After that, I would also disappear and no one would notice it. Mom would use that wig in the recording to pretend I still lived there. Why did she do that though? Mom suddenly walked into the room and laughed hoarsely. Well, well, well. I see there's no more hiding the truth from you. Bravo. She smugly told me her clever scheme. She adopted girls, waited for the end of the probationary period, and sent them to a place they could not escape from. Meanwhile, she got the money from the government and lived a life of luxury. It's been just the two of us here the whole time, but I heard Amanda talking on the phone. Silly girl, I was pretending to be her to fool the child services. Soon I'm going to send you away to a place you won't be able to escape from and then adopt another poor orphan. I'm a genius! No, you're a monster! My blood ran cold. I grabbed Peaches and ran away from home. We spent the night in an alley, and in the morning I went to a police station. My sisters were in danger. When I arrived at the station, I saw the sheriff chatting with Nate and his father, Mr. Cruz. I immediately remembered the head of the orphanage saying that he had friends in high places. Had he been talking about the sheriff? I realized the police wouldn't help me. I had to act on my own. I ran away and tried to figure out where Miss Stewart could be hiding her daughters. And eventually I remembered that my adoptive mom had hidden a piece of paper in a drawer. Could the answer be written on it? I plucked up the courage and snuck into the house. Even though I tried to be quiet, I accidentally bumped into a closet in the hallway. The door opened and I saw 7 different wigs inside. Among them was one that looked just like my hair. A chill ran down my spine. Mom was ready to send me away. Just in case, I took a picture of that horrifying sight and made my way into Mom's bedroom. That piece of paper was still there. The address of some farm was written on it. Jeez, these girls are probably forced to work there and can't escape. I headed there with Peaches. To my surprise, the farm turned out to be sunny and beautiful. I saw Amanda in the cornfield. It was easy to recognize her by her hair. Psst, I'm Miss Stewart's new adopted daughter. I've come to save you and the other girls. To my surprise, Amanda burst out laughing and said they didn't need to be rescued. They didn't try to run away from the farm because life there was great. She introduced me to the other girls and the owners of the farm. They turned out to be a nice married couple. The woman said she was Miss Stewart's sister. Unfortunately, my husband and I cannot have children. That's why we were happy to help my sister raise the girls she adopted. She doesn't want them, but we love them like our own. Amanda and the other girls confirmed they were happy on the farm. They suggested I stay with them. I spent several wonderful days there. We worked and rested together. I finally felt like I was part of a real family. I almost forgot the horrors of the past, but one day Amanda reminded me of them. She saw my smartwatch and said that Miss Stewart had once given it to her, but then took it away to give to her next daughter. That greedy snake! I realized I would not rest until justice prevailed. That witch couldn't be allowed to deceive another orphan. I left Peaches on the farm and went back to town alone. There I found Charles, showed him the picture of the wigs and told him about Miss Stewart's fraudulent scheme. He turned red with anger and promised he would get her arrested. I'm not sure the sheriff will be on our side. He seems to be friends with the head of my orphanage, and Mr. Cruz is a con man too. At that moment, someone called my name. It was Nate. Why wouldn't he leave me alone? Sherry, I didn't know my dad was stealing money from the orphanage. Nate said he was incredibly disappointed in his father and even turned him into the police. The day I had seen them at the station, the sheriff had been taking their statements. I had misunderstood everything because I had been disappointed a lot lately and no longer expected anything good from people. Dad is gonna be punished and there's gonna be a new head of the orphanage. He will take good care of the children. I was really happy to hear that. Soon Miss Stewart was arrested and the child services let me and the rest of the girls stay on the farm. I had finally found the family I had been dreaming of